Greetings, fellow Gorehounds, and welcome back to a Blood Splattered vlog. I'm the Horror Guru.
And I'm Count Jackula.
And today we're going to talk about Opus from writer-director Mark Anthony Green. Opus is an A24 film about a journalist named Ariel who is among 6 special guests who are invited to aging pop star Alfred Moretti's last and potentially greatest album listening party. But unfortunately for her and for these 6 guests, it becomes very clear Alfred is the leader of a cult and that she and the other 6 guests are in grave danger, staying at his isolated and dangerous compound. Opus is a movie that I heard a lot of mixed things about when it initially came out in theaters, so I kind of put it off and watched other movies that were coming out instead of it. But it finally hit on demand this week, so I decided, hey, let's finally bite the bullet, let's rent it, let's check it out, and I actually dug this movie.
Really good.
It's really
actually really good.
You can definitely see shades of like other movies that came out in the last like 10 years that obviously inspired this movie. Something like Midsommar with like the, you know, creepy cult stuff. You can see shades of like The Menu with like the social commentary in this movie. Even something as recent as like Don't Blink last year, talking about like rich men and their abuses of power. You can see shades of all those movies in this. But even with that said, what this movie ultimately had to say and what this ultimately does is still its own thing.
Oh, it's very different from all those movies. Yeah.
Exactly. It is similar to those movies, but is also very different from them all in the same way that those other movies have similarities with each other, but are all very different from each other.
I don't understand why this movie has mixed reviews.
I don't get it either. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, it is really good.
It's ultimately a movie about the cult of celebrity, as well as the relationship between the artist and the critic. It's kind of talking about those two things at the same time, and it does a good job of threading the needle between that, because the relationship is a very treacherous relationship. On one hand, no artist should be above criticism.
Right.
But at the same time, many critics take criticism too far.
Yes.
Among the critics involved in this story, we're also dealing with like gossip rags and things like that. Like complete scum of the earth kind of journalists and stuff. But at the same time, artists and celebrities, they have power. They have power over people, and this movie is very much about someone using and abusing that power for his own personal gain. And ultimately what that own personal gain is to achieve godhood. We'll talk more about how that works, specifically in the movie in the spoiler section, because a lot of that is spoiler stuff.
Yeah.
But I thought it all came together really well.
It did.
The performances are great. John Malkovich, who plays Alfred Moretti, is having a blast.
It's some of the most Malkovich you'll ever see.
One of the things they did that actually 100% elevates this movie is they actually got Malkovich to record the songs for the pop star, so they all feel like authentic songs this specific pop star would write.
Yeah.
And they also are legitimately good songs.
Yeah. They're actually pretty good.
So you can see how this guy became a pop star in his youth, and you can also feel shades of like aging pop stars like David Bowie. Yeah. Like the last album he did before he passed away.
Yeah.
You can feel shades of that in the music in this movie. An artist who's trying to pass down a message to the people he's leaving behind. He knows this is his magnum opus. Though, in a twist, there actually is a second magnum opus in this movie that's the real magnum opus.
Yes.
The album is almost like the red herring.
It's part of the vehicle by which he's going to do his masterpiece.
It is one tool to make his ultimate magnum opus. Again, we'll talk more about that in the spoiler section, because this is a movie with a twist. As you can probably guess, this movie has some strong Jonestown vibes.
Oh, very.
Throughout it. Like when they arrive at the compound, my first thought was, oh, it's the Jonestown compound.
Yeah. But it's also based off of Kanye West's compound.
Yes, I also thought of that too, because much like Kanye West's compound, there's all those like little tents with like the white tarp on top. And I remember seeing all that footage of Kanye West on his compound, like recording albums in like the wild and with like his like posse of like 100 people. It feels exactly like that, except everyone's wearing the same outfit, completely like reinforcing the cult feeling. And much like how Kanye West performs like baptisms in his compound, there's definitely some religious rituals taking place in this compound. It is a cult that calls themselves the Levelists, and it seems to be a cult that's around literally worshiping the act of being an artist at all.
Yeah.
Artistry as a religious experience.
Yes.
Everyone in the compound is an artist in themselves, or they're a teacher of artists, and they all must try to achieve godhood through their art.
Yeah.
Which doesn't sound bad on the surface, but as with all cults, there are dangers therein.
It's very easy to see how that goes haywire and out of control.
Yes.
Where you start to eschew all things of the material world, including life itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, at that point, you're on too much wacky tobacco. You need to come back down to earth.
There's also something inherent with equating art too much with a religious experience, because if you do it too much and you start to see the artist as God, right?
Yeah.
What comes with the seeing oneself as God is a hint of narcissism.
Oh, very much so.
And if that hint of narcissism is fed and becomes full-blown narcissism, you have powerful, abusive people.
Yeah. And it doesn't help that, like, mainly our conception of God is incredibly narcissistic.
It's true.
You know?
Their cult seems to believe that anyone is capable of this godhood, but not everyone is necessarily deserving of it, because not everyone has the talent.
You're right.
Which immediately tells you one of the problems with this cult. It is very much a hierarchical structure.
Yeah.
The people that are the most talented are rewarded the most, and the people that don't have any innate talents, they're worthless.
Yeah.
They're peons. They're peasants. You've basically just recreated a kingdom, but with art at the center of it.
Yeah.
You know? There's also some great performances by all the rest of the cast. The main character is really great. I really hope I see that actress in more things in the future.
Oh, yeah.
I can totally see her becoming a bit of a scream queen if she does more movies like this.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Juliette Lewis shows up as a TV personality in this, and
Yeah.
she is a ball. Overall, I think Opus is a solid movie that pleasantly surprised me and is underrated based on the reviews I've seen. of the movie.
Yeah. Especially the performance by John Malkovich, who is just bouncing off the fucking walls in this movie.
If you're a person who doesn't like the movies that we alluded to earlier, then you're probably not going to like this one. But if you're a person who likes those kinds of movies, then you're probably going to like this one too.
Or if you don't like John Malkovich for some stupid reason.
I know, like Malkovich is great.
He's awesome.
He's fucking great, and he's having so much fun in this movie. It's great. I like the scene when he's like doing that one dance at the listening party.
Yes.
And he's like dancing with everyone and like imitating like fucking them.
Yeah.
It's so fucking uncomfortable and funny at the same time.
I think this is his best performance since being John Malkovich, actually.
I'd have to agree. In fact, I think this movie could have been called Worshipping John
Malkovich.
Worshipping John Malkovich. You should have considered it as a title. Maybe it would have done better at the box office. Anyway, my fellow Gorehounds, Opus is currently available on various streaming platforms to rent or buy. Pick your poison and enjoy. And with that said, let us move on to the spoilers so we can talk about how this movie ends.
Okay, so throughout the entire movie, there is this feeling that there's going to be this Jonestown-like event. Everyone's going to be drinking, like, poison champagne.
With cyanide.
With cyanide in it.
Because the main character, over the course of the movie, like, discovers these things. Like, the massive amounts of champagne, big bottles of cyanide.
Yeah.
And also, over the course of the movie, people start disappearing amongst their group. Ultimately leading to the point where they have a final performance where they're watching a play, and the play is these kids doing this puppet show of Billie Holiday being just hounded by critics.
Yeah.
And like journalists and stuff. Okay, I get it. He's invited each of these people that have criticized him in the past.
Yeah.
The only question is, why did he invite the main character? Because she hasn't, because she's literally a fresh blood.
Yeah, she's literally too young.
So why did he invite her specifically to this event becomes the question. But the rest of them, it's so that he can kill them all.
Yeah, it's a simple revenge plot.
And I like the way they tie that into the title of his album, Caesar's Request.
Caesar's Request.
It's the story about how Caesar was kidnapped and put up for ransom, but they thought he was a peasant. So he eventually comes back and kills the people that like ransomed him. They did not realize who he was. He was the king and they were peasants.
Yeah. That's just, Caesar's real problem wasn't that he was kidnapped, it was that his ransom was too low.
Reinforcing like the belief that he, Alfred Moretti, he is Caesar and they are all the people who forgot they were peasants.
Yeah.
And they must be punished for this because he is the king.
Yeah.
He is the artist. The artist is king. And so this leads to a pretty traditional gotta escape from the creepy cult compound finale.
Yeah.
Where she's like running from them, hiding in places, and then trying to like fight them off, and then eventually, hopping a fence, and then getting in a car, and then driving off. And you think, okay, that was pretty standard. It's a little bit more standard than the rest of the movie was. Like, okay, all right, it's just a Jonestown situation. That seems kind of obvious, but whatever.
Yeah. Like, but then it gets to the last scene.
But then the last 15 minutes of the movie happens, and this is when the movie goes from being good to phenomenal. Flashes forward a couple years, and she has now become famous from a book she has written about escaping this cult. And we find out that when the police came back to the compound, all the levelists had disappeared.
Yeah, with the exception of Moretti.
Yeah, he was still there. He confessed to killing the 6 people, and he's now in jail. And so there's this question of what did he do to the rest of the levelists? So she finally scores an interview with him in jail, where she's going to go and she's going to interview him and most likely write a second book.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be the Talking to John Malkovich, you know, sequel or something. The Alfred Moretti Confessions, you know? And she gets there, and he basically reveals to her that this is all part of his plan.
Yeah.
Basically, his magnum opus is the book that she wrote. The whole reason he brought her there was so that she could escape. She could write that book, and that she could elevate him further to the status of godhood. Everyone in that group of 6 represented some form of media celebrity worship. Like the talk show host who interviews the personalities, the tabloid reporter who does all the gossip raggy shit, her boss who represents the magazines, you know, like the music magazines.
Yeah, the Rolling Stones.
Exactly. But she was there in addition to her boss, and the question is, like, why her? What does she represent? Oh, she represents the true crime author.
Yeah.
She is the person who writes the true crime story about him, elevating him further into the status of myth and legend.
Yeah. Pop star who became a cult leader that killed people to a Charles Manson.
Yes. He has further reached another level of celebrity status.
Yeah.
Through this work of art, partially a work of fiction, because some of the stuff she wrote in there is not actually true, not because she lied, but because he manipulated her.
Yeah.
They didn't actually drink cyanide. They just drank normal wine, and they all escaped and dispersed back into the population.
Yeah.
And his cult is now growing outside of the walls of the compound. And there's this great moment where she goes onto a talk show to talk about her experience talking with him and realizes the person interviewing her is a cult member.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I've just spread his celebrity and increased the cult.
Yeah.
I am now part of the cult of celebrity machine.
Yeah. That's where the movie ends.
It's great. I think it's fucking perfect. I think it nailed
it was. Yeah. That's the problem with any of these machines, man. You think you're fine. You think it's really impossible to find your way out.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Ultimately, like, she was trying to get her cut of the celebrity pie.
Yeah.
She wanted to be a famous writer. She even says that at the beginning.
Yeah.
She wants to become a writer. She wants to become famous doing that. She wants to, you know, make money. But as a result of that, she has now contributed to the machine that allows someone like him to exist. It's a very dark revelation, but it is a very astute one.
Yeah.
Such a good movie.
Yeah.
And with that said, my fellow Gorehounds, where can they find you, Count Jackula?
Oh, you can find me here on YouTube every weekday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. How about you?
Y'all know me. I'm the Horror Guru. I'm available on various social media platforms, but these days, I primarily use Blue Sky, so follow me on there. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to ring the notification bell so you're notified of my videos immediately upon their upload. And if you'd like to help out either of us more directly, be sure to check out our Patreon pages. And remember, if you decide to go the Patreon route, even $1 a month can go a long way, but I will certainly accept more. And with that said, my fellow Gorehounds, be sure to comment below. I want you to comment below. Please comment below using the hashtag Worshipping John Malkovich. Use the hashtag Worshipping John Malkovich. That way I know. That way you know. That way the whole world knows what this movie really should have been called if it wanted to elevate its celebrity status.
Probably. Yeah. Which is too bad because the movie's actually really great.
The movie's really good, and the title actually is perfect.
Yeah.
It is about an opus. Anyway, my fellow Gorehounds, peace out, and we'll catch y'all later.